The galaxy was full of wonders, but none compared to the trials of endurance, an event so hard that even the strongest alien champions could only complete it once in their lifetime. It was not only a test of the body, but also of the mind and spirit. Entire civilizations tuned in to watch the event every galactic cycle, and the name of each finisher was carved into the Hall of Eternity on the planet Vether Prime. For thousands of years, not a single being had ever finished the trial twice. The energy, pain, and effort required were simply too much. Most who tried a second time either quit or fell unconscious long before the end. And so a saying was born among the Veth collective: no one can do that more than once. It was a truth no one questioned, until the humans came. Humanity was still new to the galactic community. They were considered young, impulsive, and unrefined. Many species saw them as reckless, emotional creatures who relied on luck more than skill. But they were also known for something else: never giving up. Among them was Commander Elena Rains, a space explorer and former pilot in the Terran fleet. She was respected on Earth but almost unknown across the stars. That would soon change. When the trials of endurance were announced that year, Elena volunteered to represent humanity. The decision surprised many, even among her own people. Some said she was foolish, others said she was brave. But Elena simply said, someone has to show them what humans can do. The trials were held inside the Arena of Gravity, a massive structure floating above Vether Prime's blue clouds. The inside was like a living maze, walls that moved, floors that spun, and gravity fields that changed direction without warning. Competitors had to run, climb, and think fast as the entire arena shifted around them. When Elena arrived, thousands of alien spectators filled the stands. Creatures of every shape and color gathered to watch. The air shimmered with holograms and bright lights. Floating cameras followed her every step. The overseer of the trials, a tall crystal-skinned being named Kathira, stood at the center platform. Kathira's voice echoed through the arena. Human from Earth, you know the rules. You may attempt the trial once. If you survive, your name will join those of the few who endured. Elena looked up at the overseer. Once? She asked, smiling. Kathira tilted her head, her eyes glowing faintly blue. No one can do that more than once. Elena's grin widened. We'll see. When the signal flashed, Elena dashed forward. The ground under her feet shifted, throwing her off balance, but she caught herself quickly. The first stage, the spiral corridor, twisted in impossible ways, its walls spinning like a tornado. She jumped from platform to platform, her breath steady. Every few seconds, the gravity direction changed, pulling her sideways, then upside down, then back again. Her training on zero-gravity stations helped, but this was different. The intensity kept increasing. The alien commentators spoke in astonishment. She adapts fast, one whispered. Humans are unpredictable. The second stage, the crushing field, was designed to test endurance. Gravity waves rose and fell, pressing down with incredible force. Most contestants crawled through it, their bodies barely moving. Elena pushed herself forward inch by inch, her muscles burning. Sweat ran down her face and her suit's systems beeped warnings, but she ignored them. She thought of Earth, the mountains she climbed as a child, the cold nights during training, the promise she made to show that humanity belonged among the stars. Each thought became fuel. When the pressure grew unbearable, she shouted, "Not stopping now," and pushed through the last gravity wall. The crowd gasped as she stumbled out of the field, barely standing. Even Kathira leaned forward, her usual calm expression broken by surprise. The third stage, the maze of light, tested the mind. Energy walls appeared and disappeared, and the path changed every second. Contestants had to calculate the pattern before the next shift or risk being trapped. Elena stopped running and began to watch carefully. Her eyes traced the rhythm: flash, pause, shift, repeat. She waited, counted, then sprinted forward at the perfect second, slipping through narrow gaps just before they closed. Alien analysts tried to predict her failure, but she moved with perfect timing. It wasn't superhuman reflexes. It was focus, logic, and trust in her instincts. By the time she reached the end of the maze, her hands trembled and her breathing was heavy. But she smiled. "Almost there," she whispered. The final challenge was called the Ascend, a climb up a tower that extended into the clouds. Each step was heavier than the last as gravity increased with every meter. The tower pulsed with energy and a blue storm swirled around it. Most contestants barely reached halfway. Elena looked up at the tower and exhaled slowly. "One step at a time," she said, beginning to climb. Her arms ached. Her fingers slipped on the glowing metal, but she held on. Each movement sent pain through her body, yet her expression stayed calm. The crowd watched in silence, not because she was winning, but because she refused to quit. Halfway up, her communicator buzzed. It was her Earth team's voice. "Elena, your vitals are unstable. You've already done more than expected. You can stop now." She laughed between breaths. Not yet. The climb continued. Every few meters, the tower's surface changed. Smooth to rough, cold to burning hot. The storm winds pushed her sideways, but she pressed on. Her grip began to weaken, but her will did not. The thought of giving up never crossed her mind. For her, failure was not defeat. It was just a challenge to try again. Finally, after what felt like hours, she reached the top. The lights of the arena flashed gold. The crowd erupted in cheers and disbelief. She had done it. She had completed the trial. Kathira stepped forward, her crystal eyes reflecting the storm's light. "Human," she said slowly, "you have earned your place among the champions. Rest now. You have proven your worth." Elena, breathing heavily, looked at her. Her body trembled with exhaustion. Every muscle screamed, but her eyes still held fire. "Reset the course," she said softly. Kathira blinked. "Excuse me?" "Reset it," Elena repeated louder this time. "I want to go again." A wave of shock spread across the arena. No one had ever asked that before. The audience began to murmur, and the translators repeated her words in 100 alien languages. Kathira stared at her. "No one can do that more than once." Elena smiled faintly. "Then it's time to change that." For a moment, silence filled the arena. Then Kathira raised a hand, signaling the officials. "If you wish to try again, human, we will not stop you. But understand, the second attempt is never the same. The arena will adapt. It will fight back." Elena nodded. "I'm counting on it." As she walked back toward the starting gate, every camera in the galaxy focused on her. Her steps were slow but steady, her determination unbroken. The crowd no longer saw a small young species from a distant planet. They saw something else, a spark of something ancient and powerful, the human will. That night, as the systems reset and the stars glimmered through the dome, Kathira whispered to her aide, "She won't survive a second run." The aide nodded. "No one ever does." Kathira looked again at the human, standing tall despite her exhaustion. "And yet," she murmured, "I am not so sure." The crowd could not believe what they had just heard. The human, Commander Elena Rains, had finished the impossible trial of endurance and then calmly asked to do it again. No being had ever dared such madness. No being had ever even thought it. In the vast arena of gravity, a quiet wave of confusion spread among the thousands of spectators. The translators repeated her words again and again in hundreds of languages. "Reset the course. Reset the course. Reset the course." Kathira, the crystal-skinned overseer of the trials, stood silently on the high platform. She looked down at the exhausted human who had just defied centuries of belief. Elena was still catching her breath. Her face was pale, her hair damp with sweat, but her eyes, those sharp human eyes, still burned with determination. Kathira spoke at last, her voice calm but serious. "Human from Earth, the first run has ended. You have proven yourself more than worthy. No one expects more from you." Elena lifted her head. "Maybe no one expects it," she said softly, "but I do." The overseer tilted her head, studying her. "You do not understand the risk. The arena learns from your movements. It will grow stronger. The second run is never the same. You could fail or worse." Elena smiled faintly. "That's fine. I didn't come here for easy." All across the galaxy, beings of every kind watched the broadcast. On distant planets, holoscreens flickered with her image. Some spectators were inspired. Others thought she was foolish. But one truth spread everywhere. The human refused to stop. As engineers reset the arena, Elena stood quietly in the preparation chamber. Her muscles ached badly. Medical drones floated near her, scanning her vitals. One of them chirped a warning. "Severe fatigue detected. Performance efficiency 37%, she ignored it. Her hands shook slightly as she tightened the straps of her suit. Inside her helmet, her heart beat fast, but her mind stayed calm. Her assistant through the comlink, a human doctor named Dr. Lin, spoke with worry in his voice. Elena, listen. You don't have to prove anything. You already made history. Just rest, Elena chuckled softly. Lin, you know what's funny? Back home, they used to say the same thing every time someone tried something new. Flying across oceans, climbing Everest, walking on the moon. They always said, you don't have to prove anything. And yet, someone always did it anyway. There was silence for a moment on the other end. Then Lin sighed. Just come back alive, okay? I plan to, she replied. The arena lights dimmed, leaving only the glow of the floating energy rings. A voice echoed through the chamber. Second attempt initiating. The crowd held its breath. Every camera zoomed in. The screens across the galaxy went quiet. The gates opened and Elena stepped into the arena once more. Immediately, she noticed the difference. The air was thicker, the gravity heavier. The arena had adapted, just as Kathira warned. The walls glowed brighter. The floor pulsed like a living creature. The spiral corridor ahead was now twice as fast and far more unstable. She took a deep breath. All right, let's dance again. Then she ran. The first turn nearly threw her off balance. Gravity shifted sideways without warning, slamming her against the curved wall. She gritted her teeth and pushed off, using the momentum to leap to the next platform. Her limbs screamed in pain, but her instincts guided her. She had memorized the rhythm of the first run. Now she needed to read the new one. In the control tower, Kathira watched closely. Her assistant, a smaller Veth technician, spoke nervously. Overseer, she cannot last long. Her energy levels are dropping too fast. Kathira didn't answer. She leaned forward, eyes locked on the screen. There was something strange about the human's movements. It wasn't just physical ability. It was something deeper, something the Overseer could not name. Elena made it through the spiral corridor and dropped to one knee, panting. The crowd gasped when she didn't get up immediately. A few aliens shouted for the Overseer to stop the run, but Elena slowly rose again, laughing between breaths. Still here, she said softly. The second stage. The crushing field began to glow in the distance. The gravity waves were stronger now, nearly twice as powerful as before. As she stepped inside, the pressure hit her immediately. It felt as if the air itself tried to push her down. Her body trembled under the force. Step by step, she moved forward. Her boots sank into the metallic floor as if it were soft sand. Each step was a small victory. She could barely breathe, but she refused to stop. She remembered her first day of training on Mars, where gravity was weaker and every motion felt slow. She thought of her instructors laughing, telling her that Earth-born humans never adapt easily. But she did. She always did. Because adaptation was what humans did best. Halfway through the field, her suit alarm blared. Warning, oxygen levels low. Her vision blurred, but she kept moving. Every step was agony. Every breath burned. Yet deep inside, she felt something. A quiet voice whispering, keep going. When she finally crossed the last line of the crushing field, she fell forward onto her hands, gasping for air. The crowd erupted into wild cheers. Even Kathira stood up. The Overseer could not hide her amazement anymore. The next stage, the maze of light, appeared again. But this time the energy walls moved in random directions. There was no pattern to study. It was chaos. Elena looked at it and smiled tiredly. Of course, she muttered. You'd do that. She stood at the edge of the maze, watching for a few seconds, then ran forward. Blue light flashed around her as she dodged, rolled, and jumped through gaps that appeared only for a heartbeat. Twice she brushed against the energy barriers and her suit sparked. The pain was sharp but not enough to stop her. From the stands, the alien audience watched in total silence. For the first time, they were not mocking. They were in awe. Even Kathira whispered under her breath, how does she still move? Finally, Elena reached the last stage, the ascend. The tower loomed above her again, but this time lightning danced around it. The storm was stronger than before, the climb far steeper. Her body was almost at its limit. She could barely feel her legs. Every muscle screamed to stop. Her heart pounded so loudly that she could hear it inside her helmet. She looked up at the glowing tower and whispered, one more climb. And then she began. At first, her hands slipped. The tower surface was slick with energy residue. She climbed slowly, every movement measured. The wind howled around her, the storm roaring like a living thing. When lightning flashed across the sky, The whole arena lit up, showing a tiny human figure clinging to an impossible tower. The commentator's voice shook as he spoke to the galaxy-wide broadcast. The human continues. No, she climbs. She climbs again. Halfway up, her grip failed and she nearly fell. The audience gasped, but she caught a metal bar just in time. She hung there, breathing hard, and then, laughing softly, she whispered, "Nice try." As she neared the top, her vision blurred. The storm blinded her. She could barely see where to place her hand, but she didn't need to. She simply kept moving upward. Every inch was a battle, every second an eternity. And then, at last, she reached the top again. She pulled herself over the final edge and lay flat on the platform, her arms spread wide, staring at the stormy sky above. The crowd was silent, only too stunned to even cheer. Then, slowly, a roar of applause and voices rose like thunder across the arena. Kathira appeared beside her through a transport beam. She looked down at the human with disbelief and respect. "You did it again," Kathira said softly. "No one has ever done it twice." Elena turned her head and smiled weakly. "Guess I'm not no one." Kathira knelt beside her. "You have nothing left to prove. Rest now." Elena closed her eyes for a moment. Her breathing was shallow. She could feel her heart racing faster than ever. Then she opened her eyes again and whispered almost playfully, "Reset it again." Kathira froze. "What?" Elena's voice was barely a whisper now. "You said no one can do it more than once. I've done it twice. Let's make it 3. For the first time in centuries, the overseer of the Veth Collective had no words. Around her, the arena fell into complete silence once more. And somewhere across the galaxy, billions of beings leaned closer to their screens, waiting to see if the impossible would happen again. The arena was quiet now, but not in the way silence usually comes. This was a heavy, tense quiet, the kind that carries the weight of disbelief. After 2 impossible runs, all eyes were on her. Every alien, every camera, every broadcast signal across the galaxy focused on Commander Elena Rains, the human who had already defied expectation twice. She stood at the edge of the preparation chamber, her body trembling with exhaustion. Every muscle ached, every joint protested. Sweat streaked her face, and even her breathing sounded loud inside her helmet. Medical drones hovered near, flashing red warnings. "Human, you are beyond any safe limit," one drone warned. "Vital signs unstable. Proceeding may result in failure, or worse." Elena smiled faintly, wiping sweat from her brow. "I'm aware. Let's go anyway." Dr. Lin's voice came through her comlink. "Elena, you've done the impossible twice. Please, just stop. You don't need to prove anything more." She laughed softly, a sound weak but full of determination. "Lin, it's not about proving. It's about trying. And I haven't finished yet." Kathira, the crystal-skinned overseer, floated above the arena on her observation platform. Her eyes reflected the lights of the arena and the human below. For centuries, she had watched countless competitors fail. But this human, this species, she did not understand it. No being had ever asked for a third attempt. And yet here she was, smiling, ready, determined. "Begin the final run," Kathira commanded. Her voice was calm, but her mind raced. The gates opened. The arena had changed again. The spiral corridor, the first stage, now twisted faster, the walls sharper, the floor unstable in ways no previous competitor had faced. Energy pulses ran through the metal platforms, pushing and pulling with unpredictable force. Elena stepped forward. Her legs shook. Her vision blurred slightly. But her hands were steady. Her mind was focused. She took a deep breath. "All right. One more time," she whispered. The spiral corridor threw her immediately. Platforms spun, walls moved, gravity shifted in unexpected directions. Her body jerked, her muscles strained, but her mind adapted. Humans were small compared to many alien competitors. But that meant she could fit into spaces others could not. Every narrow gap became an opportunity. Every sudden spin became momentum. Alien commentators gasped as she passed sections that had ended previous attempts for every competitor. She cannot possibly," one whispered. But Elena was already moving past them, faster than her exhaustion should allow. She emerged from the corridor, trembling, gasping for air, but her eyes were alive with fire. The crowd erupted. Even the overseer, usually so composed, leaned forward, watching in awe. The crushing field awaited her next. The gravity waves pulsed stronger than before, pressing down like an invisible hand of stone. Each step forward felt like walking under mountains of weight. Her suit alarms beeped warning after warning, her body screaming to stop. But Elena kept moving. Every step, every movement was driven not by power but by will. She thought of Earth, climbing mountains, crossing oceans, surviving storms, exploring the unknown. Humans were not the strongest species in the galaxy. They were not the fastest or the largest. But they had something rare: the refusal to quit. She dug deep, past pain, past fatigue, past fear. Inch by inch she crossed the field. By the time she reached the exit, her legs shook, and her suit displayed critical warnings. But she laughed softly. "Two's not enough," she said quietly. The maze of light was more chaotic than ever. Energy walls appeared randomly, flashing, disappearing, reappearing with unpredictable timing. The arena seemed alive, almost aware of her presence. Elena studied it briefly, then ran. She dodged, twisted, and jumped with precision that came from instinct and experience, not brute strength. Twice she brushed against the energy barriers, sparks flying, but she pushed forward. Her heart raced, her breath came in sharp gasps, and yet her mind was clear. Each movement calculated, each second perfect. The spectators were stunned into silence. No one had ever seen anything like it. Aliens whispered among themselves, their voices trembling. Some said humans were reckless. Others said they were foolish. But every eye watched Elena with respect. Even Kathira spoke quietly, almost to herself. How does she do this? Finally, she reached the ascend, the final stage. The tower stretched higher than ever, its surface shifting, glowing with energy. Lightning danced along the edges, and the storm inside the arena seemed alive. Her body was nearly at its limit. Each step sent pain through her legs, her arms, her core. Her vision blurred, but she climbed. Step by step, inch by inch, she moved upward. The storm howled around her, winds threatening to throw her off balance. Her hands slipped, and she nearly fell, but she caught herself on the edge, laughing softly, whispering, "Not today." Her arms burned. Her legs shook. Her body begged for rest. But something deep inside her, something no machine could measure, refused to stop. The crowd watched, holding its collective breath. Even creatures who had trained for centuries in the trials could not imagine such perseverance. The commentators whispered urgently, She may actually reach the top." The final meters seemed endless. Lightning flashed dangerously close, and her suit sparked under the static energy. Her fingers gripped the cold, glowing metal, her arms trembling. But she kept moving. Finally, her hand reached the top edge. She hauled herself over and lay flat on the platform. Her chest heaved, her arms spread wide, and for a long moment she did nothing but stare at the sky beyond the dome. Then, softly, she laughed, a sound that carried across the arena. 3 times. Done. Kathira descended to the platform beside her. She had seen champions fall, try again, and fail, but never like this. Her voice was low, almost reverent. "Human, you have done what no being could even imagine. You have completed the trial 3 times. Elena raised her head, sweat dripping from her brow, and smiled faintly. "I told you," she said softly. "No one can do that more than once. Except human." The arena erupted, not with disbelief this time, but with awe. The entire crowd, thousands of species from across the galaxy, cheered. Some even cried, unable to contain their amazement. Kathira stepped back, shaking her head. She had lived for centuries, seen countless competitors, and yet this one human had changed everything. "The galaxy will never forget tonight," she whispered. Elena lay there for a moment, finally letting her body rest. Exhaustion was complete, but so was triumph. For humans, the impossible was never final. It was just a challenge waiting to be met. News of the humans' triple victory spread instantly across the stars. Across planets, colonies, and space stations, broadcasts replayed her journey. Every being who watched felt something stir inside. Not fear, not jealousy, not anger, but inspiration. They saw a small, young species from a distant planet, without enhanced strength or unnatural abilities, stand against the greatest challenges in the galaxy and succeed. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. Elena rose slowly, her body shaking but her spirit unbroken. She looked at Kathira, who now regarded her with something between awe and respect. "You have rewritten the rules," the overseer said. "Not only for humans, but for everyone," Elena laughed softly. "Rules are just suggestions until someone tries." Kathira smiled faintly, a rare expression on her crystalline face. then you have done more than survive. You have inspired. That night, as the arena quieted and the stars shone beyond the dome, Elena sat on the edge of the platform. She looked at the galaxy stretching endlessly in every direction. She thought of Earth, of her people, of every challenge humans had faced and overcome. She realized something profound. Strength was not always measured in power. It was measured in determination, in courage, in the ability to rise when others would fall. And humans had plenty of that. For the first time, Kathira understood. It wasn't about the trial itself. It was about the spirit behind it. And tonight, the human spirit had spoken louder than anything in the galaxy. Elena closed her eyes, breathing in the energy of the arena, and whispered to herself, "Impossible is just another word for not done yet." And in that moment, the galaxy knew a new truth. Humanity could achieve what no one else could even imagine. The stars twinkled as if in applause, and somewhere across the cosmos, billions of eyes watched and remembered the night a single human had done the impossible 3 times in one night.